First of all, I'd like to express how grateful I am to be back in the Memorial Chapel and to be able to deliver this speech in person with my AB West housemates in the pews. This has and will always be my favorite building on Ridley's campus. So when I was told that I might have to pre-record my homily from home and have it broadcast at a virtual service, the other prefects will attest to the fact that this was absolutely devastating to me. So I'm incredibly happy to be here today, to be back in this sacred space, and as we say in the school prayer, to be assembled by the grace of God as members of a family. I'm sure that all of you have heard at some point in your lives a variation of the following statement. It's not what you do, it's who you are. Your job is not your identity. Your work does not define you. And to be honest, it is something that I've always disagreed with, because I do not think we can simply divorce what we do on a day-to-day basis from who we are as people. And to be clear, I think there is a distinction between your income and your grades and what defines you, because I don't think that how much money you make or how successful you are academically says anything about your worth as a person. At the same time, I think our attitude towards our work, our level of diligence, our willingness to exert effort on a task, and most importantly, whom we serve through our work, says a lot about who we are as people and the lives we will lead in this world. If there's one thing that I find most disappointing about society in general, it's our attitude towards work. Many people see it only as a burden or as a curse, something to be avoided as much as possible. Our work is a means to an end, a necessary part of our existence. In school, it is a means to an end to earn good grades, and in the workforce, it is a means to an end to make money. There is often nothing fun or enjoyable about it, but is rather something to be endured. This often creates a sense of dread and an unwillingness to work. And I think this avoidance of work and unwillingness to work is created by an ideology that I hate, but one that continues to gain popularity. The idea that the meaning of our lives is to be happy and that we should in every moment do what makes us happy. And the first reason I dislike it is because it is selfish. It is asking ourselves in every moment, not what should I be doing, but rather what do I want to do? And secondly, I think it is in the long run incredibly unfulfilling. If the meaning of our lives is to be happy, what does that say about our lives when we are unhappy? Does that suggest that our life ceases to have meaning? And here's the overarching invitation that I want to make to each one of you in this speech. I invite you to consider that your life is not your own, and your life has a much greater purpose than pursuing your own happiness. It scares me a little bit when I hear students talking about how they would retire not based on their age or ability or other commitments in their life, but simply when they are financially able to do so. This shows me that some of us have little to no desire to work, and we are just doing it as a source of money. Because while good grades and money are very good things, and the desire to have them is not evil, they are the compensation and measurement and evaluation of our work, but not the purpose of the work itself. The purpose and value in our work is far more significant than that. The first idea I want to present is that our work, the act of physical or mental effort to achieve a specific purpose, is good for us and it nourishes us. There was an American political commentator during the mid to late 1900s. His name was William F. Buckley Jr., and he said that industry is the enemy of melancholy. Industry is the enemy of melancholy. Because when we are sad or unmotivated or apathetic, that is the time to enter willingly into our work. An American bishop named Bishop Robert Barron says that our work engages our powers as humans. Our physical powers, our intellectual powers, our spiritual powers are all awakened by our work. I want to share with you a quote from a Franciscan priest in the States named Father Casey Cole. He said, "If you won the lottery, you wouldn't need to work to survive. But I would argue, And the Catholic Church teaches, in fact, that you would need to work in order to flourish. The mind needs to be stimulated. The soul yearns to produce, to build, to find actualization, to work, unquote. We need to work not only because it is essential to our finances, but it is essential to our humanity. One of the biggest impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, especially early on, was the rapid increase in unemployment. Millions of people around the world, including members of our Ridley community, were unable to work. And sure, there was some financial impact, but there was an emotional impact that was for some people more profound. The loss of their work did not just bring the loss of a paycheck, but in some cases the loss of their dignity. Because our work gives us dignity, and in losing our work, we can lose our dignity. But the value in our work goes far beyond its ability to benefit us. If you want examples to see the value in our work, all you have to do is look around Ridley. The teachers give education to those who are uneducated. The nurses at the health center care for the sick. The Chartwell staff feed the hungry. The house duty teams welcomed us when we were strangers. And this isn't just a positive perspective to make them feel better about their jobs. This is the reality of what they do. And the fact that they get paid to do it does not change the fact that their work matters and benefits the lives of others. All work has a purpose, or else you wouldn't be doing it. All work has a purpose because all work is an act of service. And that's why our attitude towards work is so disappointing, because I think of our school motto, Terrar dum prosum, the words we are called to live by. May I be consumed in service. It's not may I be consumed in happiness. It's may I be consumed in service. And in fairness, I think it is more difficult for us as students to find meaning in our day-to-day schoolwork. Because when we are writing an essay or a lab or preparing a presentation or studying for a test, we are seemingly doing nothing to improve the lives of others. But my hope is that none of us lose sight of the fact that there is a purpose to what we are doing. Why are we going to school, and specifically, why are we going to Ridley? We are not going to Ridley simply so that we can leave and maybe make more money than if we attended a public school. That's just a wholly unfulfilling way of viewing a Ridley education. What does it say that our mission is? It says to prepare meaningful and flourishing lives by teaching the habits of mind, body, and spirit, and the values needed to lead in a global society. What did Bishop Barron say that I mentioned earlier? He says that our work engages our powers as humans. So what are we at Ridley for? We are here to develop the powers of mind, body, and spirit so that we can later in life engage those same powers to serve in the most meaningful way that we can. That is what all education is for, and what a Ridley education does better than public schools. To empower us, not just to make money, but to serve. Because a life dedicated to service will in many ways be a life dedicated to work. So if all work is good for us, and all work is an act of service, why don't we do it? Why do so many still see their work as a burden and something to be avoided? It's because all forms of work take effort, and sometimes putting in that effort is difficult. It seems like so long ago now that we were able to sing hymns in the Ridley Chapel, but my favorite hymn, and I learned recently is also Mr. Hutton's favorite hymn, is I Feel the Winds of God Today. And my favorite line from that hymn comes at the end of the second verse when it says, if cast on shores of selfish ease or pleasure I should be, Lord, let me feel thy freshening breeze and all put back to sea. And I feel that so many of us want to live our lives on the shores of selfish ease. We want to work only so that we can make money, have a high standard of living, retire early, and as soon as possible retreat back to the shores of selfish ease. Why do we try to avoid work? Because we want our lives to be easy, and our work is often difficult. And that's why, as many of you know, excessive cell phone use bothers me so much. Because when we go on our phones without a specific purpose or intention, but only because it is an escape and a distraction from our work, we cast ourselves on the shores of selfish ease. Another great line from that hymn comes at the very end when it says, "Great pilot of my onward way, thou wilt not let me drift. I feel the winds of God today, today my sail I lift. Thou wilt not let me drift." I think we can all agree that we have times in our lives when we find ourselves drifting, doing what we feel like doing what makes us happy, not living intentionally. And that's also why our work is so important, because it engages us, it centers us, and it is a sign to ourselves that we are not drifting. A few minutes ago, you heard the parable of the talents from Matthew's gospel, and in many ways, the third servant represents what it means to be selfish and to do our own will. Because what was he doing while the other two servants were trading with their master's talents? Because it says in the parable that the master only came back after a long time. So what was he doing in this time? He was doing whatever he felt like doing. He was cast on the shores of selfish ease. He was everywhere except the one place that he was supposed to be. He was doing his own will instead of the will of his master. And the parable of the talents is a great reflection on the question of what have we done with what we've been given. And for many of us who go to Ridley, we have been given so much. We are extremely fortunate. And in many cases, what did we do to deserve it? What did we do to deserve a Ridley education? What did we do to deserve to live in one of the greatest countries in the world? What did we do even to deserve our very lives? We didn't deserve it. We don't deserve it. It has all been given to us. And when we think of the servant who was given one talent, it is important we acknowledge the significance of that. One talent was worth over 16 years of daily wages at the time. So he had been given 16 years worth of money by his master, and he did nothing with it. And I know that I never want to look back on my life feeling as I lived as the third servant did, being given so much and doing so little with it. And that's why I try to live every day, not to take what has been given to me to serve myself or to do my own will, but to serve the one by whom it has been given to me. But in order to serve, we need to engage the powers that we have been given. And we engage those powers through our work. My fellow Ridleyans, from doing schoolwork to working at a job to doing chores at home to training for a sport and doing all forms of mental or physical effort, my hope is that you no longer see it simply as a burden. And I'm not saying that we should approach our work with a naive or fake sense of enjoyment. What I am saying is that even when our work is boring and unfulfilling, we can find joy and satisfaction in honoring the act of labor. The next time you don't feel like working, you want to be everywhere except the one place that you're supposed to be, I want you to remember this, that our work is what feeds our soul. Our work defeats our melancholy. Our work is what gives us dignity as humans, and our work matters and directly benefits or will benefit the lives of others. Retreat from the shores of selfish ease and enter willingly into the discomfort that work can bring. Remember especially that your life is not your own, and we are not here simply to do what makes us happy. One of the great popes of the Catholic Church, St. John Paul II, wrote an encyclical about work, and to be clear, when he says man, he refers to all humans. But he says, man is made to be in the visible universe an image and likeness of God himself, and he is placed in it in order to subdue the earth. From the beginning, therefore, he is called to work. Work is one of the characteristics that distinguish man from the rest of creatures, whose activity for sustaining their lives cannot be called work. Only man is capable of work, and only man works at the same time by work, occupying his existence on earth. It is our work which makes us more than animals. It is our ability to work which is our defining characteristic as humans. From complex thinking and very cerebral work to physical labor and manual work, we become collaborators with God to subdue the earth, and as we say at Ridley, we become consumed in service. Terrar dum prosum. Amen.